In China, the Xpeng G6, it's a popular car, and interestingly, customer satisfaction for Xpeng vehicles is higher than it is for Tesla, even though Tesla does rate well in China. Now, how does the Xpeng G6 compare to a Tesla Model Y? Well, there's lots of little things we can talk about. Lots of them, and I'm sure you have lots of opinions yourselves. Many of you who own a Tesla Model Y, not many people own an Xpeng G6, but if you have an open mind and you compare these two cars, spec for spec, feature for feature, what I've found in my experience of driving this car 3,000 kilometers over a week, and then looking at all the differences, is in fact the Xpeng G6 long range is incredibly good value for money. Xpeng G6 price has been revealed finally, but I think people are sort of missing the point here. They're missing some of the standard specifications that you don't get in other cars at this price. In fact, if you look at the deal this is, it's better than you think. And honestly, I think Xpeng's rivals, they're going to have a hard time selling their cars unless they reduce their prices. That's what I genuinely think, because the Tesla Model Y is a fair bit more expensive than the equivalent Xpeng G6. When you look at it spec for spec, feature for feature, the G6 is honestly the best value electric car you can buy, period, right now. Unfortunately, Americans, you're missing out. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. It's great to have you with us. And I want to say a big thank you to our Patreon supporters and YouTube members. If you'd like to support the channel, support the electric vehicle movement, the renewable energy movement, you can do so. I'll put a link in the description to our YouTube membership page and to our Patreon page. By the way, on Patreon, I'm going to post up some of my health stuff and what I recommend you should do on a daily basis to live longer and to be healthier. And the stuff that I've discovered, it's just taken me a long time to discover. The G6, there is two variants. There will be a third variant. There will be an all-wheel drive version of the G6 coming next year, I believe in the first quarter. But at this point in time, there is the standard range variant and there is the long range variant. The standard range variant has a lithium iron phosphate battery pack, similar size battery to what is in a Tesla Model Y standard range. And that vehicle has 435 kilometers of range on the WLTP cycle. If you want to get more range out of it, simple, very easy to do so. Put some different wheels on it. Put some 18-inch wheels on it, you'll get 480 kilometers of range. So that's a simple answer to getting more range out of that standard range vehicle, which has exactly the same specifications, except for a couple of minor things, versus the long range version. What is the difference between short range and long range? Okay, short range has an LFP battery pack. Long range gets a bigger battery pack. It's about 25 kilowatt hours bigger, and it's a nickel, cobalt, manganese battery, an NCM battery, obviously lithium ion battery. The battery pack is actually very similar to the battery you get in a Tesla Model Y long range. But of course, the Xpeng G6, it works out to be about $15,000 cheaper than the Tesla Model Y long range. Now, yes, I know the Tesla Model Y and the Model 3 does have better software. They've got better software than any other car in the market. But aside from that, pretty much everything else says the G6 it comes standard with a better specification, features like interior, everything else. And I'll point that out based on my experience driving 3,000 kilometers in this car and what's happened in my experience driving 3,000 kilometers. So the other differences between the standard range G6 and the long range are that the standard range has less power. Not much of a difference. It is 0.7 of a second slower from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, 0 to 62 miles an hour. Difference is about 40 horsepower. Honestly, in the real world, I don't think you'd notice it. So what does that mean range? What range do you get for the long range with that bigger battery pack? It's an 87.5 kilowatt hour battery. You get 570 kilometers of range. Now the same applies to that vehicle. If you want to get more range, if range is really important to you, if you want to tow, which you can tow with this vehicle, there will be a tow bar option when you collect these vehicles in 3 or 4 weeks time. Range, you can improve it by putting smaller wheels on. It's got 20-inch wheels as standard. Put some 18s on there, you get an extra 50 kilometers of range. So if that matters to you, if you're going to use this vehicle as a family car, a long range car, towing car, family trips, all that, you can do that. Now, My experience driving this car for 3,000 kilometers, which I did in the space of 1 week, which sounds crazy, I know, but my boys and I, we went on a road trip in this car. We drove through the mountains, we drove through on gravel roads, we drove on highways, we drove on freeways, we drove in cities, Melbourne, Sydney. My experience, I don't think there'd be many people who've driven that many kilometers in this car so far. It is this. The car handles exceptionally well. It's got quite a wide track. In fact, it's about the same track as what you get in something like a Ford Ranger, even though it's obviously much smaller. So it handles around corners exceptionally well. It handles bumps, soaks bumps up a little bit better than a Tesla Model Y or other cars, other EVs that I've driven. It has plenty of power. I don't think you need more power. And it charges. Here is the big kicker. This is the big advantage you get with the Xpeng G6 versus other cars. I'm talking like pretty much everything else on the market. It charges really fast. You can charge the battery from 10 to 80% on both models, standard range and long range, in about 20 minutes. So it actually charges a little bit faster than the Hyundai or Hyundai Ioniq 5 or the Kia EV6. Both of them have a so-called maximum charging speed of 350 kilowatt, which is theoretical, almost impossible to hit that number. But if you look at objective testing in Europe, where they've tested pretty much every EV that you know of, that you can buy, except for a few from China, the fastest charging car, first and second, from the 10 to 80% test, in fact, faster than a Porsche Taycan, is the G6 and the G9. Both the G9 is another, it's a bigger electric SUV from Xpeng. The G6 did it in 20 minutes, and the next fastest was around 2021, around there. Charging speed is phenomenal. And I found that with the boys and I, when we went on our road trip, we'd go to get some food, and I'd be thinking, I'd set the charging, to maximum 90%, and it had hit 90% halfway through the time we were eating our food, and I'd be thinking to myself, maybe I should have charged to 100% because I'm doing a road trip. Why not just charge 100%? And it's charging so fast. So my next stop, there was no one there, so I put it on charge to 100%, and it still finished charging before we got back from eating. So the charging speed, that is the big advantage. If you combine the charging speed with the long range battery, you're going to get a lot of range, perfect in my opinion for road trips, and you can tow. You will get that as an option when you buy the car. You can get a tow bar for this car. You can't actually order that yet, but you will be able to soon. Now, standard features that are worth pointing out. Lithium iron phosphate battery in the standard range version of the car, which is a 66 kilowatt hour battery, a little bit bigger battery than what is in a Tesla Model Y, which is very similar but slightly bigger. It has adaptive LED headlights with dusk sensing and auto high beam. Now the headlights were excellent. The auto high beam, in my experience, hit and miss. It didn't always notice cars fast enough, in my opinion. But the LED headlights were fantastic. In dark night, in cities, I found the headlights to be the best headlights I've used in a car. LED tail lights, 20-inch alloy wheels, heat pump. Important your car has a heat pump. You'll get more efficiency, better efficiency. Vehicle to load, 3.3 kilowatt, 10.2-inch digital instrument display. Obviously, you don't get one of those in a Tesla. It has a 15-inch infotainment touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You also have 2 wireless smartphone charging points in the front of the car. I found those to be fantastic. In fact, for a whole week on this trip, that's the only way I charged my phone. I never actually plugged it in. I just charged them on the wireless chargers. Heated leather-trimmed steering wheel, synthetic leather look seat upholstery in black or white, 6-way power front seat adjustment with memory, and 4-way driver lumbar. Heated and ventilated front seats. Most manufacturers, that's not standard. You've got to pay extra for that to get ventilated front seats. I had the ventilation on. I loved it. I had it on every single day that I drove the car, and I found I didn't get a sweaty back. I often get a sweaty back, and I didn't get that because of that. Heated rear seats, standard. Panoramic glass roof, dual zone automatic climate control with rear air vents, and a PM 2.5 filter. So that filter will help to get rid of those bad diesel and petrol or gas fumes from other cars. That's a pretty important thing in my opinion. 18 speaker surround sound system. When you get in the car, the sound system will sound shithouse. It will sound bad, tinny, not good. you need to jump into the EQ settings. You'll find those. I'll show you guys in a video where you can access some of the features in the car. Jump into the EQ settings, turn the bass, or there's 3 different levels of bass, 3 different sections of bass, turn them all up, almost to max. Keep your treble down, not as high, but keep it about above average. So boost your treble a little bit, but boost your bass all the way up. Now put on your 3D surround to either setting 1 or 2, and your sound system will sound amazing. It's going to go from sounding bad to sounding amazing. That's what I did in my experience. Power operated tailgate. It has 1 12-volt, 1 USB-A, and 3 USB-C outlets. It has power folding side mirrors with heating and memory, rain sensing wipers, 7 airbags, autonomous emergency braking, adaptive cruise control. Adaptive cruise control, good on freeways, okay on highways, not really suitable outside of that. Lane keep assist, lane centering assist with active lane change function, blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, rear collision warning. Another feature that many cars don't have standard, 360-degree camera system with transparent chassis. My boys love that feature, the 360-degree camera. Don't get that in a Tesla Model Y. Automatic parking. That's amazing in cities, in dense car parks. I've used that, it works well. Traffic sign recognition, driver monitoring system, door opening warning, and tire pressure monitoring. Importantly, it has 5 colors. They all are the same. There's no extra cost, no matter what color you want to get. So keep in mind, there's no delivery fee. It comes standard with a 7 kilowatt charger, which I believe is an 11 kilowatt charger if you have 3-phase. I have 3-phase, so 11 for me. You get that when you buy the car, right? If you use my link in the description, you definitely get it. I don't make any money, by the way, just making that clear. There is a link in the description and you can go to that. You can pre-order this car. It's $1,000, but it's refundable. You don't have to follow through with it if you decide you want to buy something else. The cars will be delivered in about 3 or 4 weeks. You probably have most likely missed out on the first shipment. I believe they've got so many pre-orders that you're going to miss out if you order now, a bit late, but you still will get a car from the next shipment, which will come in another month's time. So the key takeaways here. The Tesla Model Y standard range. If you want to get that car, you've got to pay an ordering fee plus a delivery fee. I've done that. I know what it is. It's about $2,000. So essentially, also the only color that's standard, you only get 1 color standard. So if you want to get it anything other than the standard color, you're looking at paying more for a Tesla Model Y standard range, which has obviously much smaller wheels, doesn't look as good, and to be honest, it's not as good looking of a car. You're going to be paying more for the Tesla Model Y standard range than an Xpeng G6 long range, which has much faster charging, it's faster, and it has a lot more range. It has about 120 kilometers of additional range. The same size car, the Xpeng G6 is almost identical in size to a Tesla Model Y. Okay, what else is there? It has a 5-year warranty and the same battery warranty as every other car, 8 years and 160,000 kilometers. The cars will be serviced at Ultra Tune. And Ultra Tune has, I believe they have thousands of locations around Australia. So if you want to get your car serviced, it'll be really easy to do so. You won't have to drive a long way because there'll be an Ultra Tune really, really close by. Safety rating. What a safety rating score does it get? It gets a 5-star it's got a 5-star Euro NCAP safety rating. Australia just follows Europe, so it will have a 5-star safety rating here in Australia as well. One other thing that's pretty cool about this car, it has 12 ultrasonic sensors, 12 cameras, and 5 high-definition millimeter wave radar. And its windscreen wipers, auto on, auto function, works really well. That's one of the problems that I've seen in Teslas. The automatic windscreen wipers are not that great. So I really can't see what other car is this good value in terms of, this size car with this much space, this quality of an interior. I think it's got the best interior of any car that I've tested under about $100,000. I genuinely don't think there's a nicer car when it comes to the interior. It has a great sound system. It's got plenty of range. Honestly, it's amazing value for money, and I highly recommend one. That's obviously why I'm going to go ahead and take official delivery in a few weeks' time. Pretty excited. Thanks for watching.